A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Janki Somani, and on the behalf of MasterSoft, I welcome you all to today's event on recent trends and future of higher education. NEETI is an initiative by MasterSoft to bring ideas from all across the country into a central layer. We are here to discuss the challenges and the solution to these challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. And we are organizing exclusive workshops and a paper presentation competitions. Without wasting any more time, I would like to introduce you to our speakers today in a brief summary. Requesting my host to kindly spotlight our guests. So introducing our first speaker for today, it is our great pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Y.M. Jayaraj sir, former Vice-Chancellor of Pravara Institute of Medical Sciences. Sir is also the Chief Advisor to Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapeeth, deemed to be University, Pune. Sir has 42 years of experience, academic experience, and has published more than 100 research activities in national and international journals. He has been an advisor on quality assurance in higher education and has conducted over 500 workshops on quality assurance and enhancement at the state and national level. Sir is also an assessor of NAAC. Sir, with folded hands, we welcome you to this program. And with your blessings, we are sure that NEETI will be a great success and we'll be able to add more value.
Thank you very much.
I would now like to introduce our second guest, Professor Dr. B.S.Madhukar sir. Sir was an advisor and a general council executive committee member in NAAC. Sir has more than 25 years of rich professional experience in different aspects of higher education, educational consultancy, assessments, accreditation of higher education institution, and has been associated with CII Institute of Quality Bangalore and had participated as an expert for assessing applicant companies for grant of CII exam awards. He has completed research projects on quality audit and functioning of internal quality assurance cell in universities, colleges, and has co-authored books on quality of higher education. Sir is also a recipient of Endeavour Executive Award from the Government of Australia. Sir, we thank you for joining us today and we welcome you to NEETI 21, the Idea Marathon, requesting for your guidance to take us to the next step. Now, I would like to introduce our third guest and one of MasterSoft's academic advisor. Sir has been guiding MasterSoft for some months now. Sir is the Director General of Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Management Studies. Professor S.K. Garg sir has a rich experience of over 42 years of teaching and 20 years of academic administration as principal of Deen Dayal Upadhyay College, University of Delhi. He has to his credit 16 research publications in international journals. He has been a member of numerous committees of Delhi University, UGC, MHRD, including the National Knowledge Commission's Working Group on Higher Education, the committee of UGC, which designed the choice-based credit system in 2014. He has also been the chairman of Vidyalaya Management Committee of a central school for 10 years and has many awards to his credit, including the Ambassador of Peace Award of the International Federation of World Peace. Sir, with folded hands, I welcome you to today's workshop. Thank you so much for accepting the request and being here for this panel discussion. We are sure that we would be able to add great value for our participants today. Thank you so much. With this, I would like to start today's session with a brief background of what this panel discussion is about. Today's discussion is around the recent trends and the future of higher education. As we all know and would have experienced, there has been an overall shift in the past couple of years due to COVID, due to the new education policy, and these inherent changes are evident in our ecosystem. these changes that define our future. And hence, we are here to understand these changes and discuss what the future could hold and what are the best practices that we should imbibe in our day-to-day activities. With this, I would like to direct my first question to my esteemed panelist. The first question is for you, Garg sir, that what are the future perceived changes which are to be expected in teaching learning? What is the future that we are all headed towards? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janki. Respected Professor Jayaraj, Professor Madhukar, Dr. Prashant Borkar, other members in the organizing committee, and dear participants. At the very outset, I am very thankful to MasterSoft for having thought of organizing this event, which they have named NEETI. This is a very appropriate step at this point of time when the government is in the process of implementing the National Education Policy 2020. As Janki has already mentioned, this pandemic has delayed lots of things, has changed many things. And this policy also envisages many changes in the teaching learning process. The number is so large that it's not neither possible nor desirable to list them 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on forth. I'll be just focusing on the major changes which the policy envisages. One is that there is going to be a lot of flexibility to the learners. So far, what we had was a very rigid curriculum. I can cite an example. You go to a restaurant, there is a thali system. In the thali system, you are served 3 vegetables, 1 form of curd, rice, chapati or puri, and salad, and 1 sweet dish. So that is a fixed menu when you have the thali system. And when you have a buffet laid down, you may have much more number of dishes, many variety of curds or raita, many varieties of salad, and many variety of breads and desserts. The individual will eat only a limited amount, but then the individual has the choice to choose whichever vegetables or form of curd or bread he or she wants to eat. Sorry. It's exactly in the same fashion that so far our policies have been to serve in the thali system. We had a fixed, rigid curricula. Every student has, once he exercises the option of choosing a certain program, he or she has to study the same subject which are offered. Very little bit of flexibility has been introduced through the choice-based credit system. But on the ground, that also has not really worked the way it was thought to be. Now, in this policy, the choices are going to be so vast that you permit a combination of arts and science. There is no need to have rigid boundaries. So there will be no hard separation between arts and science. A student can study physics, chemistry, along with history or geography or economics if the student desires. There will be integration of the co-curricular activities and the academic activities. So far, we have been ignoring, the co-curricular were just additional, extracurricular, co-curricular activities. They didn't have any credit. You participate in sports. If you are able to build a career in sports, it's fine enough. But there are very few exceptions who are able to achieve very high levels in sports. But other than that, there was no benefit given to this student. Now, the present policy, what it intends to do is to give credit to participation in sports also. I'll cite you one example, one instance. It happened in the University of Delhi in the year 2012. There was a student in one of the colleges who represented the under 19 cricket team in the uh, international World Cup, and the team won the match. The team won the World Cup. But that boy who was captain of the team obviously could not attend any class because all the time he was practicing or playing different matches. And because of short of attendance, he was not allowed to give the examination. He was detained because of the prevailing rules. That was very unfortunate. A student who has brought laurels to your university, laurels to your college, is not allowed to sit for the examination is very harsh and hard on the student. Therefore, it is desirable and has been very rightly thought of by the policymakers that these extracurricular activities and sports should also be treated as credit courses, and the student should be allowed to opt for them. Similarly, there has been a sustained effort during the last 2-3 decades to vocationalize education. But unfortunately, the vocational stream could never take off because it was perceived to be for the leftovers. It was perceived to be such students who cannot pursue academics. And therefore, because of this social status associated with vocational course, the vocational stream could never take off. In the present policy, there is a strong desire expressed that every student will have some component of vocational courses. That is, the academic courses and vocational courses will be integrated together to have a combined knowledge source. A second kind of change, which is being envisaged, and rightly so, is the multiple entry and exit points. So far, what has been happening is if there is a 3-year course, most of the universities define a time span during which the 3-year course is to be completed, 5 years or maybe 6 years in some cases. And if you are not able to complete that course in this time span, then you are out. Or else, if after 2nd year, you get a job or you get an alternative opportunity and you are not in a position to continue for the 3rd year, then your 2 years labor is lost. You don't get anything. Now, in this policy, what has been thought of is that you can enter in and you will have multiple exits. If you leave after 1 year of learning, you will get a diploma. If you leave after 2 years of learning, you'll get an advanced diploma. If you leave after 3 years, then you'll get a bachelor's degree. And if you go after 4 years, if you complete the degree in 4 years, then it will be a bachelor's with honors or some kind of nomenclature which is yet to be finalized, and it may depend on university to university also. And to facilitate this process, an academic bank of credits has been created. Every student, whatever his or her scores are during his study or her study, they will be saved in this academic bank. And any organization which wants to give admission to such a student or where the student is seeking admission, that organization can have access to those grades just to verify the authenticity. So you have your scores in the academic bank of credits, and then you can join later on. There have been students in my my teaching career of 42 years. somebody is selected to NDA after second year and has he has to join, and the 2 years labor goes waste. But somehow, if he is able to complete one more year, spend one more year, then he would get a graduation degree. If it happens now, that student will go out with an advanced diploma, and later in time, the student, if he can get leaves, then he can come back and do the remaining third year of teaching learning and get the bachelor's degree. There were many students who after first year got admission into DIET, that is an elementary education course. Girl students, the parents don't want to teach them for a very long time. And DIET in Delhi is a course which almost ensures an elementary teacher or a primary teacher's job for the student. Now they join DIET, sometimes after second year. So they have no way to complete it in the present system. But now such students can take a break, do whatever they want. If they want to do a job, they can do a job. If they want to pursue some professional course in between, they can pursue that professional course and later on come back and join this. The third change that is thought of is in the entire style of teaching. The teaching has to be multidisciplinary and holistic education. The present system has been focusing on rote learning. You mug up things, reproduce them in the examination, and the next day there is no need to remember them. Now, what is thought of in this is the focus will be on understanding and not on lot learning. The concept is of 5 C's: choice, collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. Now, these are the areas, they together constitute, the last 4 C's together constitute what we call as life skills. So the focus now is on the life skills rather than on lot learning. 64 kalas have been mentioned by Bana Bhatt in Kadambari, and they include all kinds of activities on earth. So a student should have an option to take up any of these activities along with his or her academic pursuits. A fourth change that is thought of is in the mode of delivery. There is a positive side of the pandemic. Prior to this pandemic, whenever I spoke to my colleagues about online teaching, about MOOCs and such things, there was a lot of resistance. They would say it's not possible. We had a very hard mindset that chalk and talk method is the best method. I still believe it may be the best method, but it is not the only method. And this pandemic has brought this reality into limelight. For the last 2 years, everybody has taken to online teaching, right from the children of nursery and Montessori classes till the postgraduate classes. Everybody is involved in teaching learning in the online mode. And the change that is going to come up in the coming near future after implementation of this policy will be that we shall have the flipped classroom model. That is, you do part of the study in offline mode in the laboratory and part of the study in the online mode. Finally, there is also a change envisaged for the teachers. We have, the policy has identified 3 kinds of educational institutions. One, which will be purely for focusing on research. Second, which will be purely focusing on teaching. And third, will be primarily teaching, but little bit of research will also be there. Now, this is something which I think we should welcome, because the earlier policies had laid a lot of emphasis on research. And without research, the teachers are not able to get promotions. And that pressure, everybody who doesn't even have a knack for research was forced to do it. And it led to very substandard research, the eruption of very substandard journals. In fact, I feel ashamed of calling them even journals. They are not journals. They are paid publications. So that has lowered the standards of research immensely. And this policy, by focusing on teaching institutions, will remove this burden from the heads of the teachers that they have to compulsorily do research. Research will be optional. And your major expectation from you will be to focus on teaching, and teaching in a very creative manner. So these are some of the thoughts I had, which I could crystallize out. There are many. As the discussion goes on, we can come up with some more ideas. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. So in a nutshell, I'll just summarize the points. The flexibility of education system will improve. There would be no hard separation between arts and science. There would be an integration of co-curricular activities and an academic bank of credits, wherein the students get multiple exit options. There would be an understanding of 4 C's, which is choice, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity, which would be infused. And student will have the opportunity of using any kalas that, as sir described, during their education. And we are moving slowly towards flipped classroom, wherein we would have 3 different types of classrooms, such as and we are moving towards an online. There is a positive change towards online teaching and learning that we are seeing towards the education. Thank you so much, sir, for describing that so well. Moving forward to the next question. So next question is for Jayaraj, sir. So what are the perceived future changes that are about to come in the research and innovation side? What are the changes that we are expecting, and how do we see the focus on research and innovation?
Thank you very much. Thankful to Dr. Garg for having given us a bird's eye view of the future scenario as well as the impact of the change on teaching learning. I will be focusing myself on the recent innovation, that is the topic given to me for the panel discussion. Let me just take 2 minutes in the beginning to tell as to how exactly this concept of research came into education. As you are aware, research was not the main component of teaching learning to start with. Teaching learning was considered as the primary purpose as well as the outcome. Only in the later stages, the research came as a component, that was an optional component, and research was meant only for doctoral and postdoctoral research level. Then slowly and steadily, it became part of the project work into the curriculum. But I would like to approach this in a different way. This is very concept of teaching learning as well as research. Earlier we used to say only teaching learning evaluation. Now you have to add teaching learning evaluation as well as research. It will be followed by innovation, incubation, and startup. I will be adding 2 more along with the research for the following reasons. Our educational system has a total bearing on the dependence on the industrial revolution and the civilization that is around us. If you look into the history of the modern education vis-a-vis the industrial revolution, you'll find that there is a very, very perfect correlation between the type of curriculum that we had, the type of education system, the delivery, the transaction, and the evaluation based on the outcome and the impact of the industrial revolution. For example, in Industrial Revolution 1, which started with machinization. Till that time, we never had any books. There was no printing press, nothing. In other words, we started having resource material. Then technology came into the education through Industrial Revolution 1, where power was considered as a supreme component. So that also came into the curriculum. Then in Industrial Revolution 2, which ruled for almost about 80 years, electricity became a very prominent component. So our entire teaching, learning, as well as research became concentrated on mechanization, assembly line, as well as electricity and after electricity. Particularly during 19th century, 90% of the research that revolved around the component of electricity, physics, and chemistry. Then, if you look into the impact of this Industrial Revolution 2, because of the heavy industrialization throughout the world, it not only changed the economic perspective, it also changed the political perspective. The very concept of communism, socialism, etc., came mainly because of the impact of Industrial Revolution 2 on society as well as education. I don't want to go into those details. I will have to come back to, again, the teaching, learning, and research. So, if you look into it, our curriculum, our aim, our research revolved around Industrial Revolution 2 in 19th century and in the beginning of 20th century. And when India became independent, we were under the clutches and influence of Industrial Revolution 2. That is the reason why even today, our entire curriculum, our method of teaching, learning, our research is aiming at Industrial Revolution 2 itself, though the world has gone ahead. In what way the world has gone ahead? Let us analyze in 2 points. See, from 1970s, 60s and 70s onwards, the world underwent the third industrial revolution, namely the digital revolution or the computer revolution. But unfortunately, it took 30 to 40 years for us to understand the impact of this digital revolution or computer revolution into our life as well as into education. Even though we're in 21st century, we are yet to say boldly that yes, digital technology into the education has been percolated to its roots level, namely the villages and the schools in the villages and to the doorsteps of the village houses. In other words, we missed at the bus of Industrial Revolution 3. Hence, we are still bogged down with the Industrial Revolution 2 and its impact on education. That is the reason why we have followed only the traditional method of teaching learning. Let me bring one more important component, since research is the component of my discussion. As you are aware, we concentrate only on Bloom taxonomy level 1, 2, 3, which are lower levels of learning. What is it? Remember, understand, and apply. So we produced graduates who were able to remember routing, understand to some extent, and apply and work as technocrats or engineers or technicians. That was the level at which we gave the education. That was the reason why during those years, there was more of technocrats, engineers coming out of it, doing only the mechanical type of job, not the research-oriented type of jobs. But Industrial Revolution 3 had its tremendous impact in European and American countries and all developing and developed countries. We realized it late. By the time we realized that technology revolution, Industrial Revolution 3 had to be adopted into our curriculum, we started adopting it, but we were very slow in adopting it. And we were saying 20% of our teaching, learning, and research could be based on digital technology, and research may or may not be the component. Then came Industrial Revolution 4. And many of our educationists are yet to know what is Industrial Revolution 4. Industrial Revolution has already started in 2010-11. It has already been stabilized. And thanks to Corona, Corona has hastened the process of Industrial Revolution 4. But for Corona, we educationists would not have understood what is Industrial Revolution 4. Industrial Revolution 4 has brought in few important facets which has a direct bearing on teaching, learning, as well as research. What is it? It brought for the first time the disappearance of the boundaries between physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, and computer science. In other words, from fission, it gave rise to fusion. That's where the integration of the art, science, and technology came into force. But for this fusion concept, we would not have achieved this. And we have just tinkered it, we are yet to go a long way as to what actually the fusion of the arts, the science, and technology and digital technology is. That is one. Second one, Digital Revolution 4 has a biggest and tremendous impact, not only on science and technology, but also on the life and living, as well as economics, political science, and whatnot. That is, digital technology. Industrial Revolution 4 stands for what is known as disruptive technology. Whatever the technology that existed before 2010, it's going to be challenged with this disruptive technology. I'll give only one example. See, for 100 years, because of electricity, we had telegraph, we have a telegraph, we have telegram, we have radio, You have got landline telephones and various other gadgets. I give only one example. For 100 years, they ruled the roast. Whereas today, none of them exist. For simple reason that the cyber has taken over. So 21st century, particularly the Internet Revolution 4, is aiming at fusion technology, number one. Number two, it is known as disruptive technology. Third, it is known as cyber physical systems. So our education system should aim and adopt not to the earlier methods, but it should change overall. It's not tinkering. We should go for a overall change in the education system in terms of disruptive technology, in terms of cyber physical systems. Whether it's teaching, learning, your curriculum itself should change. The methodology should change. The delivery should change. And so there's no point in only tinkering. We have to go for a seesaw change. As we had an Android mobile today, instead of a camera, instead of a telephone, instead of a telegram, whatnot, everything in one. Like that, all technologies are coming to a fusion, which is beneficial to the mankind. And you have to exploit internet, which ultimately brings global connectivity. But unfortunately, when we think of global connectivity, our villages are yet to get the connectivity. That's that apart. So what I'm trying to say is, our curriculum, which not only should aim at teaching learning of a particular subject, but also aim at research. Now, let me tell you, now everyone has realized that education system, particularly higher education system, should change. According to me, the change should start from the Bloom taxonomy's level 2. Namely, we should do away with remember, understand, and apply. We should move towards analyze, evaluate, and create. So when you apply, analyze, evaluate, and create, research automatically becomes integral component of the curriculum. That is the reason why nowadays we don't just call it as research. We call it as innovative research. What do you mean by innovative research? There is no question of doing repetitive research, same survey, same thing, no publications. Our colleague already told the type of research that underwent in India, garbage in, garbage out, GIGO concept. We don't want that. We want something new. And apply, evaluate, and create. That should be the concept. That is the reason why today all the curriculums, commencing from undergraduate curriculum, postgraduate curriculum, doctoral curriculum, as well as postdoctoral curriculum, research becomes an important component. Not just research, innovation. You should not stop at innovation again. You should come to the incubation level. You should not stop at incubation level again. You should go to startup level. So today, in 21st century, thanks to Corona, the buzzword Innovation Council has become part and parcel of every institution, thanks to Government of India, the Ministry of Higher Education and MHRD. That Innovation Council has already become a buzzword. And the students already have started understanding the importance of patenting, copyright, at the same time intellectual property rights, and go for innovations. And many of the students, before they complete the degree, they're already coming out with incubated projects, startup projects, and technology transfer. So the order of the day is research, not just research, but innovation, incubation, and startup. And that should become part and parcel of our education system. Accordingly, our curriculum should change, our teaching learning methodology should change, our entire orientation towards the education should change, both at the system level, the process level, the human resource level, as well as the clientele level. Only then we are going to have the change. This is what I pursue. 21st century, fourth industrial revolution, catalyst is the Corona, and it's inevitable that should be done. Otherwise, we perish. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So I just summarize the points in a brief. So sir suggested that we are moving now towards analyze, evaluate, and create. And we are moving towards innovative research from research, wherein we are trying to make a research which is more, which inculcates all the aspects such as the science, art, and all aspects together to create something better for tomorrow. And we are now in the fourth industrial revolution phase with disrupting technology, fusion technology, and cyber technology. Thank you so much, sir, for your views. Now I would be moving forward to the next question for Madhukar, sir. Sir, we see that we are going through a change, and this is the time when we are going through various changes at the same time, and we are expecting to have a different, a next level shift. Now, what are the changes or what are the future perceived changes in the leadership and governance which are to be expected, and how should our leaders be ready for accepting these changes and inculcating them? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I think I thank Professor Gorkar and Janaki from MasterSoft for coming out with such a nice program for discussion. In fact, Professor Garg and Professor Jayaraj has already mentioned so many important aspects on research and teaching learning and what NEP has to say about it and all that. See, underlying all these factors is our governance and leadership issue. Even if our NEP has to see good implementation, I think the governance and leadership issue has to be totally redefined. There's no doubt on that. Because some things I will share. In fact, Garg Saab gave a good example for that. He himself talked about some student who represented India and he couldn't attend his exam. It's a governance issue. It's a governance and leadership issue where we failed. I can tell you innumerable examples during my visit to many field activities in NAAC, where I used to attend for assessment accreditation. Looks very simple. Yeah, is it something you need to share it? It may look, it looks like that. But I tell you, the impact of this are all very, very, very big. I will tell you one example. Our whole governance system, as of now, at least as from my understanding, exists totally on distrust. We don't trust. Our whole system of management or leadership or governance, I'm using it internally because I don't want to get into the academic part of it. I just want to say what, convey what we see in the ground. It's a distrust system. We don't trust our systems, trust anybody in our system. I give you examples for this. When we conduct seminars, etc., the first thing a teacher who could also be a professor level person asks me in the seminar is, when will you give an attendance certificate? The attendance certificate has so much value more than I feel sometimes the seminar and its content. That is the way it has been. See, attendance certificate takes primary work. So many people come and ask me, sir, attendance certificate kab milega? Attendance certificate kab milega? So what are we trying to do? We are building a system of so much of distrust. Like you may have to find catch one fellow. For that you punish 99 people. And another aspect which has tremendous impact, I think people should reflect on it, is averse to any decision making. That too, particularly in colleges, when you are in the retirement phase. When you are in the retirement phase, most of the principals stop taking decision almost 6 months to 1 year before they retire. And this looks very, very simple, but the impact is too huge on this. 1 year of no decision making, they'll allow it to float. Systems just get floated. Chalo, chalne do. I don't want to intervene, nor I don't want to take any decision. You know, if this is monetized, the impact is too huge for the country. It's a very huge impact it has. So I think we need to relook at our system of distrust itself. That is where the governance and leadership change has to be there. Leadership governance has to work from a system of distrust to it has to come from a system of trust. And another issue in all our decision-making processes. Most of our decision-making processes go through what is called as gut feeling. gut feeling, or it goes through something like, okay, the chairman decides, we all say yes, or somebody who is more powerful in the system, or he represents some category, they will say and we decide. And this will not work for us anymore. It has worked so far in some way or the other, but from now on, this will not work. We at least should have good data to take decisions. Like Infosys Chairman Narayan Murthy's, once I read somewhere commenting, you don't come with your opinions, you come with your data. Let us look at it. Then we will take decisions. I am not very concerned about your opinion. Maybe there is a truth in your opinion, your experience has some truth, etc. But come with data. So our whole decision-making processes has to change. Leadership, they talk about, lot of training is required in leadership training. Leadership is a crisis issue. Not only in India, around the world, leadership, there's a crisis in leadership. And this is an acknowledged fact. Now we need to, now leadership has to address what it has to address. Now you think of what the leadership has to address. We are changing. The pandemic has shown so many things about technology changes that is going to be rapid. Then we have what is called as a gig economy that is coming in, where the students may have different jobs in their career, in their whole life, no permanent job like NAAC mein 20 saal kaam kar diya. It will not exist. You may be working in 10 different areas. Possibility is very high. And now we thought of options like academic bank of credit. Academic bank of credit is a huge thing. And it gives such a varied option if it get implemented in rights in letter and spirit. Now you think of it, somebody can take a part of his degree from Garg college and something from Jayaraj college and top up with my college. So you think of the governance and leadership issues that come into this. Your ability to take risks, your ability to understand technology, and your ability to implement it. And lot of collaboration will be improved. And another thing we are very risk averse is transparency. We are a non-transparent system. We don't want to show anything. Sub record under. How many people are willing to put minutes of the meeting, etc., on the web easily? Because transparency is another area we have to change. If we are not transparent, in fact, you may know that you will know who is the next UGC chairman will be, even like it will be floating in the system, but the system is not transparent. What is secret is known. So transparency has to be brought in the system, and transparency is a new learning experience for all of us. We are by culture, by nature, secretive. We are afraid of being transparent because we feel it will be misused, it will be exploited, it will work against me. Unless we come out of this and talk about transparency, when you support transparency, leadership is supported by transparency with the data, our things will change. Whether the quantum of research we do, or teaching learning processes. In fact, in NAAC, I used to argue, see, you give teaching learning more weightage, you give research more weightage. But for governance and leadership, your weightage is low. That used to be my argument. Even today, I argue that, but it is not still accepted. See, you give 350 or 200 for weightage for teaching learning, around another 200 for research. But when it comes to governance, you give only governance and leadership, you give weightage for only 10, 100. So this is an aspect which should have an equal weightage. And it is even today, it is an undervalued exercise in this country. We need to focus more on this area as we need to focus in other areas, because this can even stop the best of the minds for achieving something. You just don't sign a paper, means you simple thing. You know, the last it gets for everybody in the system. So transparency is one part of governance which need to look at. Data usage is part of the governance. In fact, ERP systems are absolutely essential. We need to work on data. We need to take decision based on data. And collaboration is another thing we need to do. We have to collaborate and share our resources. Collaboration and resource sharing is another aspect of governance, which we need to develop. It's a cultural issue again. In fact, I can talk on this topic just from my experience in the field for about one day, and I will not be able to complete it. So much of things we have seen which hurts, sometimes hurts. What resource we have, we are not using. And it's a major governance issue. First, forget about getting resources. Are we using the existing resources to the optimum? And if you do a survey across our country, I will see we are somewhere around existing resource usage, human resource, financial resource, other resources. I don't think we will be coming even to 60–70% existing usage. These are all, I am putting it more randomly than in a structured form like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. But in a nutshell, all these are points. There is nothing, all this is a whole. You need to address all this. And leadership training, I think that in NEP also they're talking about it, leadership training. And you think about it, about 5 crore, forget about higher education, primary education, NEP report says 5 crore children are not able to, numerical literacy is not there for 5 crore children, don't get into. What are we talking about? Why is that discussed in the parliament? 5 crore children cannot get numerous. What are we giving? Is there a discussion in the parliament? I thought this should be discussed in the parliament thoroughly, my opinion. What is happening? Now you will draw some. If that is being lost at the primary level, you see how much we are losing across board. Primary, you lose some 5 crore children go out of the system because they are not able, we are not able to give them basic numeracy and literacy. So many governance and leadership issues needs to look at. We have to look at the present governance issues we do. How is our present system? What are the pluses in our present governance? And I'm talking particularly of education. I don't want to go into other areas which I'm not very conversant with. So we need to study this, map it, then see what are the new governance issues that need to come up. In fact, when I look at NEP, they say there will be light and tight regulation. I hope the regulation will be light. In fact, when we talk about in the institutions, when we talk about things, we quote so many rules. In fact, I sometimes really are happy to quote so many rules saying it cannot be done. Sir, in university nahi karne deta, a college nahi karne deta, a UGC nahi karne deta. Like that, you will quote so many things. Finally, quoting itself becomes our rescue, comes to our rescue why it cannot be done. And these are all something in the ground we see. So I think we need to examine our present systems. Present governance models needs to be examined. And then look at the changes that's going to be very rapid, very, very rapid. And we have to look at transparency. We look at data management. We have to come out of our distrust syndrome. And I think collaborative, we need to collaborate more, whether it is my college with MasterSoft or anything. We need to cooperate a lot. We need to collaborate a lot. We need to open out a lot. I think with this, I hope I'm not exceeded my time. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And sorry, it was not a very structured sharing of thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. You covered a great deal of points and very important points. The first one being that the decision making needs to be data centric. It needs to be based out on data points, which will help us reach better decisions in lesser period of time. So sir has already compiled all the points, so I would be moving to the next question now. The question is for Jayaraj sir. So the National Education Policy envisages an increase in education spending from 4.6% to 6% of the GDP, which amounts to around INR 2.5 lakh crores per year. This money will be spent on building schools, colleges, universities, and also on creating research infrastructure, research funds, and for operational expenses such as providing free breakfast and etc. What makes things tricky is that the policy comes into being at the time when the economy has been battered by COVID-19 related lockdowns, government taxes, collections are low, and the physical deficit was high even pre-COVID. So, sir, how should institutions secure and manage funds when we are already challenged by these situations?
Okay. Thank you for this question, which is very, very relevant in 21st century concept in post-COVID scenario. Let me take a point from the fact as to why there is a need to focus on more funding. Is it that whatever the funding we have given is less or more? See, we are at one stage, we are saying that gross enrollment ratio is from at 26%, we have to enhance it to 50%. And once you think of enhancing the gross enrollment ratio from 25% to 50%, naturally our investment has to double. So you have to find out a resource. In other words, it is very plain, as simple as that. You would like to enhance the gross enrollment ratio from 25% to 50% in 2035. In other words, your investment as in today should get doubled with inflation rate of 10 to 15%. That means by the time we go for 15 years, it will be almost 4 times the expected income investment. Now, the pertinent question is from where we should get it. Now, the policy of the government worldwide, including government of India, is more of public-private partnership. Government is coming away from running the institutions on their own, except certain model institutions of IIMs or All India Medical Sciences or certain universities. So, education system till 1990s was a domain of government. It was the government responsibility of the government. Even right to education was only a part of primary education, only from the age group of 6 to 14. It did not cover before 6 or it did not cover after 6, after 14, even after 70 years of independence. In other words, we talk of educating everyone. So I have a dichotomy, in fact, to address. One is when we say education, it should be a mass education or it should be elitist education or in between, or it should be selective. So only then, as Dr. Madhukar rightly said, where if the policy is wrong, if the implementation is wrong, whatever the investment you do, whatever the aspects you do, process will do, will go wrong. So my the straightforward answer to this one is when government is already looking towards privatization of it, particularly from 1990s with liberalization, globalization, and privatization, and the NEP also invites foreign universities, and the NEP also looks for public-private partnership, particularly industry-academia interface. In fact, I would take one example and ultimately prove my point. For example, in medical education sector, without a hospital, the medical college cannot survive. If you can make medical college and the hospital to survive with their own fundings, not from any other source, with the minimum fee from the students, with the minimum chargeable fee from the patients, and if you can make it as a model where you earn as well as spend. Similarly, where engineering colleges, every industry should own an engineering college, depending upon the type of industry it produces, not the general mass. If it is a technical industry, my mechanical industry should have a mechanical engineering college, something like that. If you can go for that, so you should have 2 phases. One is the service sector, where they serve the society and earn. The other one is education sector, where they educate, use the students as apprentices. So you should come out with a new model for 21st century particularly with national education policy in as a base, that we should go for strong private-public partnerships, PPP models. And when we say public, we are looking at only philanthropists and few educationists and certain families and trusts. No, it should be industry-based. Academia industry interface is a must to take forward. For example, in foreign countries, 90% of the institutions run either because of alumni contribution or they are contributed by the industries or the society. Least number of universities are governed by the government. Whereas in India, we look forward for the government of India to give research funds, to give building funds and whatnot. How long this concept of subsidization of education should continue? If it goes, will it be in a position to ultimately foot the bill that is required for 1.3 crore population? As Dr. Madhukar rightly said, when we cannot give education to children who do not know reading, writing, and reckoning, then when we call it a worth as education? So these are certain concepts. So we have to evolve new methodologies. We have to stop tinkering with the existing methodologies. We have to come out with certain new models. In fact, I expect a lot from national education policy. Rather, I appreciate national education policy from the point that the education should start at third standard. And there is strong, definite stabilization of the primary education and pre-primary education, thanks to it. At the same time, it doesn't speak much about technical education and health profession education. I feel sorry about it. They speak a lot about the primary education, pre-primary education, and liberal education. But it doesn't speak much about the professional education, technical education, and health professional education. So we still a long way to go. But my answer to this particular question is, there is no other way other than blending service sector, industry sector with the education system, make it self-sufficient without looking into government corpus. But for that, what is important is governance, as Dr. Madhukar rightly said, light but tight. Otherwise, you allow the institution to run, and then you will have a lot of bureaucracy and red tapeism. Nothing will be a non-starter. Nothing will be a starter. So we should have a new policy as such, as to regarding the generation of resource, utilization of the resource, the existing ones and the futuristic ones. And collaboration is the means, and sharing is a means, and then only probably funding will be answered. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. And I take medical education sector as the example. Nursing college, medical college, dental college, where there is a service sector involved. Public are they are used as a resource, they are used as a source of income. At the same time, they act as a means of educating. It may not be possible everywhere, but yes, it's possible in 60 to 80% of the educational sectors. That should be the model. Nowadays, what is happening is 4 to 5 hours the college runs. Remaining 19 hours, the college is closed. Infrastructure is wasted. The human resource is wasted. The investment is wasted. And research is only for namesake and repetitive. It's not productive. We're not going to be innovative. So we should look from a different angle. Right. We should, according to me, funding from government should have a very, very clear-cut model, rather than just giving it as a freebie to everyone. Again, we are going to end up with what we ended up earlier. So over to you, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
In fact, if you permit me, I fully agree with the earlier two speakers regarding research. See, UGC also, we started with publications. Then we started with peer-reviewed publications. Then we started peer-reviewed, non-peer-reviewed, national, international journals. Then impact factor journals. Now we are coming with index, non-index journals. And now we are coming out with citation index. Now we are coming with H index. Where are we heading for? And unless I have a principle to my heart to say that I will not cheat, and I am doing a research which is original, until this conscious change takes place. If it is rule-based, then I will produce 10 PhDs. Recently, there was a video clipping in the WhatsApp group where in front of the Delhi universities in Delhi, there was a shop saying that I will give you PhD for 25,000 rupees. If this is the way PhD can be produced in India, I feel sorry that research will not have any future, even if you put 10,000 crores, even if you have a national research funding, which will be misutilized. So it should not be production-based. It should be incentive-based. It should be post-production based, not the earlier ones. You produce and then get it. That should be the way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll just sum it up. Sir has suggested that we need to move towards the public plus private partnership model, wherein the institutions are self-sufficient to sustain, and we have a partnership with the industry, wherein the industry collaborates with institutions. Plus, there should be a collaboration in terms of the resources between different institutions, as also suggested by Madhukar sir, to ensure that the resources are being used to the fullest. And the research should be based on the product that we are trying to achieve. Thus, the wasting would be, the resource wasting would be reduced. Now, I will quickly go to Garg sir and then I'll come back to Madhukar sir again. So my question for you, sir, is that in the school education and also in the higher education, the policy envisages a sweeping structural redesign of curriculum, a step which is very welcome. But in order to deliver this curriculum effectively, we need a large pool of teachers who should be trained for e-content, for blended learning, or for flipped classroom, and and also the pedagogical needs that are there. So, what are the effective methodologies that can be initiated by the institutions to ensure that these pool of teachers can be trained? Sir, you are on mute.
Thanks, Janki. I'll take a clue from Professor Jayaraj. And in fact, I'm a little bit deviating from the question which I have been asked by you. See, Professor Jairam has very rightly said that we need to become independent. So to say, private government partnership has to be there so far as funding is concerned. And when we intend to make the gross enrollment ratio 50% from 26% at present, within a span of next 5 or 8 years perhaps, the funding has to be doubled, which I doubt if the government can manage so much funds. And so far as private funding is concerned, I have served for 42 years in government organizations, Delhi University colleges, and for the last 2.5 years, I'm in the private sector. And I have seen the constraints and the problems which the private sector faces, red tapeism and all those kind of things, which are unbelievable. And as such, the partnership of private institutions in higher education at least is nearly 50% now. I may not have exact figure, but it's nearly 50% now. Now, how to increase this gross enrollment ratio from 26% to 50%? I have a suggestion. And that suggestion is, and in fact, nothing new about it, because for the last 5-6 years, UGC has been saying, writing to every university, that you give credit to your students for 20% of the courses if they do them through MOOCs. And I have found that most of the universities, including my own University of Delhi, they immediately rejected this proposal. It was never accepted. It might have been accepted in a few universities, few institutions, but at majority of the places, this was never a welcome step for various reasons. Fear of losing job and all that kind of things are there. Trade unions are there, associations are there, all that might also be there. And of course, there was a mindset also before this pandemic came that teaching cannot be done, effective teaching cannot be done online. Now, during the last 2 years, we have realized that teaching is possible in online mode. Then why not going for a blended mode? And the UGC and the National Education Policy has itself suggested that even 40% courses can be through MOOCs, through online courses. If we raise it to 50%, the gross enrollment ratio automatically becomes nearly double, because you call every student 3 days in a week to the college. The other set of students who call for the remaining 3 days, and rest of the study they do in online mode. And I think we'll be able to very soon acquire this 50% gross enrollment ratio. This can be one model which can be tried. This is just a suggestion. Now, coming to the question which has been asked to me as to about the effective methodology for structural redesign of the curriculum. The curriculum is to be redesigned. There is no escape to it, because we want very large scale changes. We want to do away with the boundaries between arts and science. As such, nowadays there are rigid boundaries within the science subjects also. Within chemistry also there are rigid boundaries. I am an inorganic chemistry, he is an organic chemistry, and he is a physical chemist, and I will teach only organic. And that kind of boundaries I have faced throughout my career. I have seen these things happening. I do not know how difficult it is going to be to fudge these boundaries and create curriculums which are across these boundaries. It's going to be a real challenge. And more so, we want the students to be creative, have critical thinking, have good human values, ethical values, should be full of life skills. And all this will require a total change in the teaching methodology. I think instead of teacher-centric, the teaching has to become student-centric. And that will be possible when we go in for a change to what you call problem-solving approach. That is, you can give the student real-life problems and ask for a solution from them. So whatever solution they come out with, that will have some creativity in it. Second will be learning through the projects. When I said in my initial part that the purely research organizations, and then purely teaching organizations, and then teaching and research board, I don't mean there will be very rigidity about it. If there is a purely teaching organization, that simply means that a teacher will not have pressure to do research and then create substandard research. If 10% of the teachers, or even if 5% of the teachers are willing to do research, if they have a flair for research, let them do it. They can. But the rest of the teachers can be creative through projects. Projects also involve a little bit of research orientations or research kind of mindset. So we will have to revise our curricula in a manner that our teaching learning is more project-based, project-based and problem-solving based. So these are the changes I think we will have to work out. And so far as schools are concerned, the situation is very challenging, in fact, more challenging there. Why I say so is because the government intends to introduce 3 years of pre-primary teaching. That is, a child who is 3 years plus will go to school, and for initial 3 years, it will be preschooling kind of in Anganwadis or all such organizations. Now, where is the infrastructure for that preschooling? And suddenly you want to create infrastructure for students. Our population growth is nearly 1% now, which means every year 1 crore students are to be admitted to school. 1 crore extra students are admitted to school. So for this 1 crore extra, and if we have to, in the pipeline, we already have students who are 3+, 4+, and 5+ waiting to go to school. We'll have to do something for them also. So where will such huge infrastructure come from? Unless and until some social organizations take it up. So in school education, this is going to be even a bigger challenge. Right. And curriculum making, the teacher will have to be involved in developing the curriculum, because then only the sense of belongingness will come. It has to be a wholesome exercise. So these are my thoughts about the challenges for curriculum development.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your thoughts. There is one more point that I've personally experienced while working with different schools and institutions. On a metro level, in metro cities, we have a different, I would say, exposure, which is not present in the BCD cities. And it is essential that this knowledge transfer and knowledge sharing also takes place in these BCD cities. So I guess something around that also need to be worked out so that all of even the BCD cities can march towards the development in a soon manner. Thank you so much. So I would
just a minute. I missed one point.
Yes, sir.
I missed one point. I'll like to add here.
Yes,
See, the training of the teachers
yes.
for online teaching will again be a very important step in the implementation of this policy. Just exposing them through webinars about how to do it and what to do may not be sufficient. Lots of online courses are available. We have developed MOOCs in many subjects. They are available. How many of our teachers have attended those MOOCs, have done those courses through MOOCs or online resources? So I think we have to incentivize and create an environment that teachers are motivated to take up these online courses themselves. Because when a student attends these courses, he or she will still need hand-holding from the teacher. Guidance will still be needed. Therefore, we must devise exhaustive programs for training of teachers to use the technology. And besides use of technology, they should acquire the knowledge of their own subject by using this technology. And then, if possible, if they are there for it, contribute to development of, contribute to develop more such lectures and more such MOOCs. So this is
Right. Yes, a very important point, wherein we need to motivate teachers. I guess that is a very important point because you need to be really motivated if you want to learn through a virtual medium. So motivating and creating that environment becomes a really success indicator in that point. Now I would like to go to Madhukar sir for the next question. Sir, in the higher education, the national education policy's focus is on interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary learning, which is a very welcome step. Universities, especially in India, have for decades been in siloed and departmentalized. This interdisciplinary shift would require the professors to lean into different disciplines while being the experts of their own domain. So, how can institutions facilitate the interdisciplinary shift, which actually demands a cultural shift in education?
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure whether there's a real comprehensive answer for this. I think most of this will have to evolve over time. But the point is well taken here in the sense, this concept has been there before when Mahatma Gandhi talked about Naya Talim. That's the new education policy he talked about. It had some ingredients of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and that in his own way had said it. But this concept failed in India because of the Industrial Revolution. The British came in and their system of education, etc. So the concept now where it means you work with a heart, mind, and the heart, mind, and the hand all should come together for working. This is a larger concept of what we call as interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, which has been taken up largely in NEP as one of the most important things that needs to change. And there is no doubt on that. Now, there are two angles to this. One is an employer angle to all this multidisciplinary and multidisciplinary courses, interdisciplinary courses, etc. How does it look at it over a period of time? I'm not sure. We have very little data on so many issues in this country. Like I'm not sure whether 4 years integrated course and a semester course was better than an yearly engineering course. We don't know, maybe as a micro employer, you should say whether the engineers who came from 4-year yearly course and who came from semester or trimester course were better. I don't know. We're looking at from an employer point of view. I'm not talking about a learning point of view, which itself is a different dimension altogether. So interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, yes, interdisciplinary, we need to have a definition of what we mean by this. Whether it is interdisciplinary within the institution or interdisciplinary across board. Multidisciplinary within institutions or it is across board. We'll have institutions coming together to offer interdisciplinary courses. We have institutions coming together to offer multidisciplinary courses. Now, the boundaries we have set for an institution, I think we need to rework on the boundaries itself of what are the boundaries of this whole idea of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary. Whether one college here, 2 colleges in neighborhood will collaborate and offer an interdisciplinary course. Because now every college cannot create, in one sense, all disciplines in that. It involves a lot of investments. So need to look at it in a collaborative manner. So interdisciplinary, then once you come into that, yes, interdisciplinary, which institutions come together? And what is the nature of interdisciplinary courses you are able to create? Becomes a very big challenge. Now, why I see it becomes important here is we have largely an affiliating system. Again, I'm coming to the governance issue in a very, even though I am here, it is more to do with the other aspect. Institutions have to become autonomous faster. If you are not an autonomous institution, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary becomes very difficult. Because you may have to take a decision. You cannot write to Bhopal or Delhi to take a decision. That we generally do. We want to do this, etc., etc. So the autonomy becomes a very important aspect. In fact, if they touch autonomy, autonomy should be promoted fast. And they say by 2035 or something, all colleges should become autonomous. But I certainly feel it should be even faster. If you want to implement interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary courses in the systems, it needs to be even faster. Autonomy and the ability to grant degrees has to come down drastically. You cannot have a system where you send even what is autonomy even today? Even today, autonomy is about you take one of our affiliating universities. What is autonomy? Autonomy means you are able to change only 20% of the syllabus. Is autonomy in actual reality, that is autonomy. So this definition, autonomy means you need to be autonomous. You have the decision making to have interdisciplinary courses. I will have interdisciplinary between these institutions and we will grant a common degree. So the ground realities have to change for interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary things to happen. The more freedom of choice and more creativity allowed in creating disparate subjects, etc., which we couldn't think it is possible. So there is no doubt interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary thought process has to come into the system. And this needs, in Professor Garg also said it, and Professor Jayaraj also said it, there is a huge training need. Training means I don't mean the training that is given in academic staff college training mode. It has gone, I think it is now too late to do anything with academic staff colleges. It needs a total oral training is not a training which we have 24 days training. Training itself needs a way of looking at it. Subject training is one part. To deliver it in a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary settings is a different aspect. You may deliver online course in one area and a face-to-face course in another subject in the same area, in the same institution. So you will be doing multiple tasks. And as Professor Garg rightly said, I have some data on this online, even though it's very premature. Most of us don't understand online teaching because it is still an evolving phase. What we teach, do the student understand? All that is still in an evolving phase. So the training is a continuous process which needs to be taken care of, and it should be cost effective. The moment we say anything, the picture of cost comes in. We have to deliver cost effective changes in all these aspects, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary. Yes, very important, but has to be cost effective. If it is not cost effective, this will not work. The cost factors will have a huge bearing on this. In fact, Jayaraj sir very rightly said, where is the money going to come from? And you see the lopsided development of education in India. You rightly said, you're talking about metros. I will tell you, you travel 100 kilometers right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. The education system starts science, you see, up to some part of Maharashtra. Go further, science vanishes a little. Then it will arts and commerce only. Then again, science starts in some parts of northern India. Music and all seen in northern India come down, so vanishes in the system. So there are lots, and we start from northeast and you come this side, it's a different diversity altogether. So I think interdisciplinary should be given a very broad meaning. Multidisciplinary should also give a very broad meaning in it, so that it becomes conducive and we can do it as much as possible. We have to, what exists in the system, we need to leverage that. In fact, autonomy, many in MP, I could take examples. Autonomy has been given and they have given it back. People have been given autonomy. College said autonomy. Then it was written back for various reasons. I'm not getting into that. Now we have to accept autonomy. That we are going to be autonomous. We want autonomy. If we don't accept autonomy, we will not further go further in this. Interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So I think, yes, we need a continuous momentum on this thing. Continuous momentum needs to be kept on. Course learning will happen. Lots of course learning will happen. NEP, now they said in Karnataka, they said we will introduce NEP. And many other states have not done it. And the learning from Karnataka has to be transferable to other places. So is the learning from other places. I think the system must become more and more open. We are quite a closed system. Whatever it is, we need to have a more and more open systems. That is what I feel at this point. We need to concentrate to open out the system as it is envisaged and be prepared to learn, utilize, leverage autonomy, take that risk. And then I think things will fall in place. Other talent is there, capacity is there. We know what to do, but we have to do. That is where we stand. Largely, I do understand high-end research. I'm not getting into those areas. At least in the regular thing, what we have to first maximize the potential that already we have. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sir, I would like to open the forum for questions now. So you can unmute yourself and respond to the questions that I would be putting. The first question is the teaching should be only on the basis of teacher performance? Then what about the admin work and the events? Would they be ignored? I believe I should unmute NEETI ma'am and ask her to ask her question.
Could you please repeat the question, Janki?
Yes, sir. I'm just unmuting NEETI ma'am so she can direct the question directly. Okay. Ma'am, you can unmute now. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, organizers, for wonderful panel discussion. It's been very brainstorming. I just want to ask when that's my idea, if that is the right takeaway I've taken. If NEP is saying that teachers in the higher education should focus more on teaching, as rightly said that the research was being done for the heck of it, then what about the other admin work in events, which actually, adds on to more learning for the students? Won't they be ignored when teachers would be only focusing solely on teaching? One question. And second question would be then how performance appraisal would be designed for the teachers in the higher education. As of now, we have API, which would include your research, your publications, everything. So how NEP is trying to design the performance appraisal for the teachers?
Should I say something about it?
Yes, sir.
See, madam, teaching and a little bit of administrative work related to teaching, they go hand in hand. You can't completely segregate the administrative part of it from the real teaching in the classroom or the real interaction with the students. I'm not talking of preparing the salary bills or doing some office kind of jobs. That will be looked after by the non-teaching staff. But anything, any administrative work related to organization of activities, which also involves learning for the students, that will be a part of teaching itself. And so far as evaluation is concerned, I think we should not bother much about this evaluation process, because every institution eventually has to be autonomous, as Professor Madhukar has rightly said. I fully agree with him. Unless the institutions become autonomous, unless the teacher feels responsible for delivery, unless the teacher is convinced that whatever is to be taught is to be designed by by himself, and is to be delivered by himself, and is to be evaluated by himself. The test of the teacher's performance will be the performance of your students. So to say, where your students are going, how successful they are in the competitive examinations, that will be a real test of your performance. So I think we should not worry too much about this aspect as to how would the teacher's performance will be evaluated. The teacher's performance is evaluated by the students themselves. And let me tell you honestly, the teacher gets the evaluation after delivering the lecture in the class. After interacting with the students, the teacher himself or herself knows how successful her teaching or interaction was. And the satisfaction that you get after a successful class, that can't be described in words.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, Madhukar sir wants to come in. Sir, you're on mute.
See, I want to take this question a little differently. See, that is what I said, we have used to this API model and all that. I am of the opinion over a period of time, you cannot really say teaching, learning, administration will not be a part of the same person. Multitasking will be the system. You cannot say, see, this is administrative job, this is teaching job. So I do teaching job, you appoint somebody to the administrative job. I think this concept will shrink. I do administrative job, I also do teaching learning job. So in my opinion, this bifurcations will shrink. That is how I foresee things. And you may have also to do with the arrangements also, logistics also, which when we started NAAC, we did it. Everything was done, right from bringing somebody from the airport to doing an awareness program, to fixing a bench, to fixing some electricity. It was like that because it was a growing organization. But I think this concept will not, this boxed concept will not exist for long. That is just my thought.
Thank you so much, sir. Moving forward to the next question. So as you know that AI, ML, which are areas out of the core branches such as electrical, mechanical, civil, and they are lagging and going for a downfall of registration and admissions and opportunities. So being a faculty of higher education in these typical areas, what shall have changes or remedies for overcoming this situation?
Please repeat the question.
I'll repeat. So, sir, currently there are AI, ML, computer science. All these technologies are taking a better step as compared to the core electrical branches, electrical or civil engineering, and so on. So, the teachers who have devoted or are in that particular region, what are the remedial action or the changes that they?
Yeah. So,
Yes, sir.
see, the question is this. As I told you, the subjects emerge, specializations emerge. We call it as a cyclical process. What is specialization today becomes general topic tomorrow. Something new comes up again. Again, branching takes place, sub-specializations. As I told in the beginning itself, 21st century is known for fusion. Fusion. New disciplines are bound to come. New disciplines emerge. You have to adapt. For example, when biotechnology came, there were no biotechnology teachers. There was no job for biotechnologists. Botanists and zoologists, biochemists, they joined together ultimately to develop biotechnology. Today, it has developed as the biggest branch. And again, there are super specialists in it. Bioinformatics, molecular informatics. So, in other words, particularly the knowledge as well as technology is growing at such a faster pace. Need-based analysis will lead you for a new program every year in another 10 years. So rate of obsolescence will be highest. Whether it is a program that is offered today will become obsolete next year. So we may have to think of offering a subject or a super special subject or an elective on yearly basis. That being the case, this is an emerging aspect. Already colleges are offering programs on AI, programs on data science, data mission language. And let me tell you, early birds always get a better scope. The one who plunges into these new arenas, taking risk, they will be the first one to be welcomed by the industry, and they get the higher salary and all. By the time they get the field gets saturated, others will lose out. So it's nothing but a demand and supply. And requirement of society, requirement of industry. See, entire technical education, professional education is need-driven, demand and supply driven. See, in 1980s, all engineering colleges in South, they went dry. There were no takers, even at 35%. Whereas by 1990s, with liberalization, they got revival. So we cannot say that when new subjects come, old subjects naturally phased out. So it is a botanist became a biotechnologist. A biotechnologist became a molecular biotechnologist, nanobiotechnologist. In other words, teacher should grow, student also should grow. I cannot say I've learned only one subject, I will remain with it. As Dr. Madhukar rightly said, multitasking, not only in terms of administration and academics, even in terms of specialization and subspecialization and electives. If I don't learn myself, continuous learning is not there, then I will not be a teacher. I cannot offer. So continuous learning is, on overall the computer science teachers in 1980s, 90s, all mathematics teachers, all physics teachers. Today there are separate computer teachers. Again, for each discipline there are specialists. So whenever a new subject comes, it emerges out of the box. See, microbiology came. I'm from microbiology discipline, let me tell you. Microbiology did not come from a biologist. It came from a chemist. Louis Pasteur was a chemist. Robert Koch was a doctor. In other words, subjects do emerge. They're all need-based, society-based. So you must be ready for it. There is no escape for it.
Right.
If you don't adjust, you will perish. It is an organic evolution of Charles Darwin. Origin of species, struggle for existence, survival of the fittest, natural selection. Even for programs also, origin of a new program, struggle for existence, survival of the fittest, and society ultimately selects. You can't have an escape for this. This will go on.
Right. Sir, we'll take one last question and then we'll close for today. So, sir, right? So
Yeah.
is limiting colleges from becoming autonomous?
Yeah. I will also answer. I will request Madhukar also to answer. Let me tell you this. If government wants to give autonomy, the first question is, are we willing to be autonomous? Second one, will we be able to take the load of that autonomy? There are many colleges who says, I am happy in affiliating system because I just teach and forget. Somebody will evaluate, somebody will give the result and all. Autonomy means self-regulation and self-sustenance and self-management. According to me, our society, our teachers are not willing to accept this overall responsibility. It is either you perform or perish. I give you autonomy. If you do good, you come out. If you don't do good, you will perish. And let me tell you, there are certain institutions. We started as early as 2000. They did not have any affiliation to any university, no recognition from any university. They gave MBA degree. They all came because of the fusion of certain industries. Their degree was having the maximum value in industry rather than the university degree. So, as Dr. Madhukar rightly said, it's all the component of ultimately governance. What do you mean by recognition? What do you mean by autonomy? How you make use of it? And again, can we put it in a box itself? Can we go? To what extent is the question? And affiliation system, as NEP rightly points out, we would like to do away with 2015, 235. It is a very, very tall order. The Indian scenario of 50,000, 60,000 colleges, or 1,500, 2,000 universities. I do not know. It's such a easy task. Our teachers are not trained for it. Our colleges are not able to manage it. And again, that's why they are suggesting that we want cluster colleges concept. So there are colleges with 5 teachers and 100 students. Can we call it as a college? Today, they would like to enhance the horizon of a college with minimum 3,000 students and minimum 300 teachers. In other words, once we had a bigger institution, we fragmented it. Again, National Education Policy 2020 wants to bring them together. Only time will answer all these questions. But the question is, ultimately, the time decides survival of the fittest and natural selection.
Right. Madhukar sir wants to come in. Yes, sir.
See, let me flip this question a little and answer this. Now you don't want autonomy. So where do you get your students from? Your catchment area is drying. Earlier, a student near your area has to come to you. Now that concept is changing. He need not come to you. He can sit there and take a degree from Mizoram.
Yes.
So unless, see, what you are going to lose is you will not get students. And if you don't get students, whether you are autonomous, affiliated, whatever you call it, you are non-existing. Hundreds of engineering colleges have been closed in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and other parts of the country. Because initially, when Karnataka started this boom, the students from North India, everywhere, they started coming, and then they started having their own engineering colleges. Then there is some leveling happened.
Yes.
Now the other way around is happening. Courses will come to your rooms.
Yes.
Courses will come to your room. You don't have to go in search of a college. So the dimension has changed. Now whether you like to have autonomy or means you will not exist. It is a straightforward thing. Over a period of time, you will no exist. There will be no. Now I see in many places like Bangalore, just from the place I sit, I am in the kind of a heart of the city, and 2 kilometers down the line, there's a college. You know how many people they are getting? 2, 3, 4, unsustainable. Because things are taken over by many other systems. So as Professor Jayaraj sir and Garg said, you have to run fast to be where you are. Forget about taking a lead or something. There is no question of whether you want it or you don't want it. That question doesn't remain. You have to see how best I can do it to keep your student strength intact. Finally, there will be no students. Then forget about whether you have a job, whether you API, all that doesn't mean anything at all. You have to secure your students. To secure your students, you have to be good. And whether autonomy is a technical term for operational freedom. Whether they call it other way, something, you have to be there. So you have to continuously, they call it a scan the environment, scan the system and be in the system. Otherwise you're out. You have hundreds of examples like Kodak, out of system. There's so many examples. I don't want to get into because it take a lot of time. So there's no choice. I am saying you have no choice. That is what I would like to say. Thank you.
So as a student of natural science, I would like to give my closing remarks stating that change is inevitable. Adaptation is inevitable. If you don't adapt, you will not exist. So I strongly believe that Darwinism, a theory of organic evolution, applies 100% to education system. And if you put it in a proper perspective, the ultimatum is society selection. And if you don't adapt, whether the student or a teacher or management or the government, it perishes. So the slogan is, the message is very clear, writing on the wall: change. And be ready for change. And particularly what is expected 21st century, Industrial Revolution 4, that is cyber physical systems, fusion. And there is no escape. You have to accept, you have to adapt, and you have to live with it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks to all our speakers. So, firstly, thank you so much, Jayaraj sir, for your interesting remarks on change, fusion, research, innovation, the funding that we need to secure. Thanks a lot, Madhukar sir, for guiding us towards leadership, your views on collaboration, your views on transparency, and training of the leaders for tomorrow. Special thanks to Garg sir for agreeing to be on this channel at such a short notice and helping us understand a clearer view of what the education system would be tomorrow with blended learning, flipped classrooms, and how teachers can be trained and we can all work towards the collaborative environment. Thanks a lot, everyone. I would just request a small group photograph with everyone. So requesting all our participants to kindly turn on your cameras so that we can click some pictures together.
So I would like also to thank all the panelist members who joined for this today's session, Madhukar sir, Jayaraj sir, and Garg sir. And really, it's an engaging environment with you. I would also see Govil sir is also there with us. So thank you so much, sir, for joining this session. Thank you so much. Yeah, Janki, we can have a.
Yes, sir. Clicking the pictures simultaneously. I see Dargat sir. Good evening, sir. I see Geeta ma'am. I see Vidya ma'am, Priya ma'am. Okay. So we were joined by more than 190 participants from across the country.
That's really great.
So
we are thankful to all the delegates, all the participants for their participation, and we look forward for many more such interactions. Only interactions will emerge, will give rise to new ideas and new thoughts.
Yes.
We appreciate the step taken by NEETI in this particular direction. And I appreciate your title itself, teachers empowerment.
Yes.
So ultimately, he is the one who can change the society, who can change the students. So I really appreciate the catchy phrase of yours, namely the teachers empowerment. Sir, so I look forward for many such empowerment strategies from you people. Whatever contributions we can give and do, definitely we are for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we are looking for the ideas. So Chanakya's NEETI is what we are looking for, the policies and good ideas.
One thing I want to suggest to players like you, you have to create cost-effective solutions.
Yes.
No big, this package costs so much will not work.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Cost-effective, affordable. See, affordability, feasibility are the two important buzzwords.
It has to be pragmatic.
Affordability and feasibility. As long as it is affordable and feasible. See, today everyone has a Android mobile as well as the internet connectivity. It is because of the affordability and feasibility. Once upon a time in 2005-3, we used to pay 16 rupees for one incoming call and 8 rupees for an incoming call and 16 rupees for an outgoing call. Today it's free of cost.
True.
but we are paying in an indirect way. So initial cost may be higher, but by the end of the day, it should be a very, very, very affordable. This one, more the affordability, more people will appreciate and come into the fold, and better will be the utility. It's what I always read the success story of Tata company, where somewhere I read Ratan Tata's vision. You would like to reach out to maximum with least percentage, so that least percentage from the maximum itself become huge. Instead of collecting 100 rupees for 100 students, I'll collect 1 rupee for 1,000 students. For me, the ultimate revenue is same, but my reach is higher. So as long as we have this telescopic vision, the microscopic delivery, we have to have a telescopic vision and a microscopic delivery. And then definitely you are going to achieve what is best. I appreciate Madhukar's frank opinion. Since beginning, for the last 20 years, I know him. He is always known for very straightforward, this one, very dissected out points. So today, I'm thankful to him that he brought out very, very new concepts regarding what is expected of governance and leadership, both at ground level, at the management level, as well as at the government level. So I really enjoyed, and I should say 2 hours is well spent in new learning for all of us.
Thank you, sir. It's all from learning from all of you.
Yeah. Thank you, Garg sir. This is my first interaction with you.
Thank you, Professor Jayaraj. Thank you, Madhukar.
Yeah.